Hi, I'm Mike Elam, and this is BUFORD PUSSER, the other story.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to BUFORD PUSSER, the other story. With me again today is Dennis Hathcock. He's kind of a staple on this program. How are you doing today, Dennis?
Pretty good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well. Hey, today we're here and wanted to talk about Toehead White, the Red Carpet Casino Robbery, and the Three State Moonshine Operation.
Right.
And we're going to get into a little bit about Tommy Bivins along here because he's part of the story in one way, and in a big way he's not. While we're on that, there's a lot of people, because of the W.R. Morris book having Tommy's picture there on the front cover, thought that he was actually part of the state line. Tell us what you know about that.
Well, like I tell people that have asked me about Tommy Bivins, he's a part of the state line mafia and all that kind of. I said, well, if he is, he's one of the hardest working mafia people that I believe I've ever seen. He worked on a pipeline all of his life, run a ditching machine. He made big money. He always dressed nice. He's a nice looking guy. Drove a nice car and had a nice home. And I doubt if one penny of it came from anything from him being involved with the state line. It come from him working very hard all of his life.
Yeah, I research a lot of things, including FBI reports. And I guess that's one thing that kind of stands out to me is you never saw Tommy Bivins' name really brought up, with the exception of the fight that they had at the Shamrock in I think it was June of '64.
Right.
And of course, more pertinent to all that was they weren't really talking about Tommy so much as they were talking about Towhead, because he was a constant in the FBI reports. I think
right.
his file is something like 500 pages long. And, of course, we really haven't talked about that in this series yet. But just so people know, Tommy was at the Shamrock one night. And if I'm not mistaken, he was sitting there with W.O. and Louise.
That's right.
Somehow in the place, as I understand it, the conversation among some of the others got to be about who was the toughest man at the state line, Towhead or Tommy. Somebody was just trying to get something started. And Towhead, having too much to drink, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, comes over and, wants to fight Tommy, and Tommy's not having any part of it. Just tells Towhead, you're drunk, just go away, no need in all this. And as I understand it, he, while Tommy was sitting there in the booth, well, he reached over and took a swing at Tommy. And
Right.
Tommy got up, grabbed him by the shirt with his left hand, and proceeded to give him a pretty good pounding to the floor with his right hand. And Louise, correct me, came over and broke it up.
That's right.
And Tommy went back over, sat down in the booth, talking to your mom, your dad. And in the meantime, well, Louise had taken Towhead back into the kitchen area or something. And he came back with a gun, shot Tommy in the face. And at which time, Tommy got up a second time and pretty much beat the crap out of him. And at that point, well, you know, your mom and dad, as I understand it, were the ones that actually drove him to the hospital.
Right.
And like I say, in the FBI reports, it's more about what Toehead did, what his involvement was, as opposed to Tommy's, because Tommy was just sitting there visiting with people. But at any rate, I guess my point is that you go through all the FBI reports, newspapers, you don't hear anything about Tommy Bivins being part of the.
I'll say one thing about Tommy Bivins. He's probably one of the nicest, mannerly men that I've ever met. You never heard him cuss. You never heard him. I mean, he was just a gentleman. I mean, that's all you can say. But he wasn't nobody to mess with, and Towhead found that out. But anyway.
Yeah, as I understand it, Tommy wasn't the type to go around looking for trouble. But if it came looking for him, he was the type that wouldn't shy away from it.
That's right.
At any rate, having covered that and kind of gotten that behind us, at least for now, wanted to get on to what was occurring at the state line at that time. Basically, is that of course, Jack had been killed about a month before. Tommy and Towhead had their little match. And, you know, the year goes by. Pusser's elected sheriff a few months later. In 1965, things at the state line are going pretty much as normal. And Towhead, in the absence of Jack, has, you know, made a move on Louise. I think basically he was just wanting to have as much control at the state line as he could get. And so he kind of started romancing Louise. And now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe she was 17 years older than Towhead was.
I don't know the exact, but yeah, she was older than Towhead.
But at any rate, you know, even the FBI reports, you know, they had in there where different agents had commented that they expected Towhead would kill her one day. And, you know, I think most, like I say, most of their relationship was him just taking advantage of her, trying to get in to the state line in a grueling type of way. At any rate, March of 1965, Towhead and some others go down to Biloxi, there on the coast, and get involved in the robbery of the Red Carpet Casino. Now, Towhead was the inside man. He's inside with everybody that's gambling, and just another patron that night, as far as everybody was concerned. And I assume that he must have had a way to give somebody a signal when it was time to rob the place, probably making sure that there's enough money to make it worthwhile, so on and so forth. At any rate, a little bit later, several men came in and pulled their weapons, robbed the place. Now, before we get on to the robbery itself, would you mind telling everybody what the Red Carpet Casino really was?
It it was just a house that they called a casino down there because unlike most people probably would think, you know, there's casinos everywhere. They're on the coast now, Biloxi and Gulfport, but at that time there weren't. I mean, they had a few strip bars up and down through there, and they had all just like it, some houses where people would go to, and they called them a casino, but it was just a house where people got together and gambled.
As much as anything, the way I picture it is a scene at the Lucky Spot in Walking Tall, where Buford and his buddy go back in the back room. That was pretty much what the Red Carpet Casino was.
Right.
At any rate, they go in, guns drawn. They're robbing the place. They get all the money that's they can see. They line everybody that's there up against the wall. And ironically, our old friend Bill McPeters was one of those that were there that night, he and his wife. And, Bill was telling me that when the robbery took place, well, Towhead, he just acted like he was another patron. He goes up against the wall just like everybody else, and the crew comes down, and they're patting everybody down, checking them all for money, jewelry, whatever that they might have that they could get their hands on. And Bill says, when they got to Towhead, they just kind of gave him a very cursory pat down and moved on. And said, Bill had told his wife to take the ring off of her finger because I guess she had a pretty valuable ring, and put it in her mouth to hide it. And said when they got down to Bill and her, and they started to check them, Towhead just told him, said, no, you can skip those. And Bill said they just went on down the line and didn't bother with them. And Bill said, right then, I knew Towhead was in on this.
Yeah.
The robbery crew left. Towhead stayed there. And police came down a little bit later that night, and he was still there at the casino, acting like that he was just a patron, and they arrested him on the spot. They get him, they charge him all. And of course, he makes bail. He goes back down to McNairy County for a few days. And the next thing you know, he's working on the Three State Moonshine Operation. And this is where Tommy kind of comes in again. Because the Three State Moonshine Operation was initially set up in McNairy County, where Buford was. Now, of course, if people has read my book or been on the Facebook page or anything else, they know that the state officials had reached a point with Buford where that they wouldn't invite him to raids in McNairy County because they were afraid that people being raided were going to be tipped off. But somehow, or for some reason, and it's all along about this time, Towhead decides to move his moonshine operation to Tishomingo County in northern Mississippi. And he hires Tommy Bivins to haul, I think it was 154 55-gallon drums in a pickup truck down to Mississippi, which that was going to require several trips. So I'm sure that Tommy at the very least suspected that Towhead was into moonshining and happened to be there in Tishomingo County the day that Sheriff Bishop and some others raided the place. And you tell us what happened from there about Tommy.
Well, I heard Tommy tell it just right after his after mother and daddy's, and he was telling about the he got out of the truck, I believe is the way he said. He pulled up with got out of the truck, and then all of them just swarmed, and threw him on the ground. And it wasn't the sheriff, it was one of the deputies that run up and had a pistol stuck right behind his head. He was calling him Towhead and telling him he'd blow his brains out if he moved and all that kind of stuff. And he kept telling him, I'm not Towhead. And, oh, yeah, if you move, you're going. And I think the sheriff finally said, well, the one that straightened him out said, no, that's not Towhead. That's somebody else. They didn't even know who he was, I don't think, at the time.
As a matter of fact, Towhead was arrested in Corinth.
Yeah. Towhead wasn't even there.
And something that I might point out is they got raided before that Towhead even got the still back into operation.
Oh yeah, they were just had took those barrels down there. From what I understand, they hadn't set up no steel or anything. They just unloaded the barrels down there.
Huh. But at any rate, all of them went to court. There was Tommy and one other individual, a young man. I think he was about 18.
Right.
That didn't have any type of criminal record.
No.
And so while the others got prison sentences, Tommy and this other individual were given 18 months probation. And, I've been told, I think it was Bill McPeters that told me, said, people would ask Tommy, said, well, what did you think Towhead was doing down there? And said he just kind of smiled, says, well, I thought he was going to be down there making jelly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But at any rate, Towhead ends up having to go to court for the Red Carpet Casino Robbery, and he gets 3 years for that. Then it wasn't very, but a week or two, it seemed like, that he had to be back in court, and he was sentenced, for his participation in the Moonshine Operation, and the judge just let the two sentences run concurrently. So, he was going to be out in about 3 years. And, during this time, well, people have told me that by this time, Towhead and Louise were married.
Yeah, there's some controversy over whether they were married or not. My mother always said they got married. I wasn't there. I don't know, but
I know I've looked for a marriage license and haven't been able to find one, but that doesn't mean a whole lot, because like right now, you look for a lot of this information. You can even go down to the courthouse there in Corinth and try to look up about Buford's trial, and they don't have any records of that. A lot of things are gone now.
Yeah, they had it on microfilm. And I was going to go look for something for you one time down there. Every bit of the microfilm is missing.
Just one of those things.
Yeah. Well, it's open to the public.
Yeah.
See, anybody can go on there and go through that microfilm.
If they can find it.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing when you start trying to put all these things together. But I guess one thing that I did notice is that her driver's license, Louise's driver's license, and her Social Security cards in 1965 were both changed from Louise Hathcock to Louise White.
Right.
And in a way, they give some credence to the fact that they very well may have been married. Now Louise finds herself They're at the state line. She no longer has Jack. She doesn't have Towhead. He's in prison. Things at the state line are going from bad to worse, because of changes in liquor laws. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, they have, before, the main reason that they always made quite a bit of money at the state line was because beer was illegal and whiskey was illegal on both sides, on the Mississippi side, the Tennessee side. Well, Tennessee side, McNairy County voted in beer to be legal. So that did away with, the big percentage of people that came to the state line to buy beer. At the same time, Mississippi, Alcorn County, voted to legalize liquor, but not beer. Well, they had liquor by the drink, but no beer. So they still had a little bit of business that came out of Mississippi up there. And that would, Pusser, he kept wanting more and more money, and there was less and less money coming in. And
made it tough.
That's, yeah.
And it's one of those things. Like I say, I think Towhead probably got into a relationship with Louise, thinking he could more or less take over the state line, and everything started going down the tubes. But I've seen correspondence where Louise was trying to get Towhead's prison sentence shortened. I've got it in my book. Some of the letters that she would write to attorneys, trying to get Towhead out, CPAs, because at that time, the IRS was after Louise because there was a lien on the state line properties that Jack had, due to the fact that he had not paid taxes for several years. And so Louise had her plate full as far as trying to take care of her problems, which I guess this actually leads us into what I want to talk about in the next episode. And that's what is happened with Louise, why that things happened the way they did, who all was involved, her autopsy report. That's something that we'll cover in I think in the next episode. So, okay. You have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I've told you this, that at one part of it was, I think I've told you this, that Towhead was claiming that he had a bunch of money to help bail her out when he got out.
Yeah.
And so he had talked to Daddy and what's his name down that bought it, that wound up buying
Howard Bunch.
Yeah, Howard Bunch. And when the time came, he didn't have the money. So that's when they wound up them having to buy it.
Yeah, you're talking about when they satisfied the IRS lien to IRS.
Paid off the IRS lien on it. And I've got a theory of my own, and nobody don't agree with it, so that's okay. Well,
we'll cover that next time. That's
okay.
Something interesting to talk about. Well, Dennis, I appreciate you being here again. Going to have you back. We'll cover all this about Louise and her death and what happened to the state line properties in the next episode.
Okay.
All right. Well, until next time, just hope everybody remembers that what we're after here is the truth. And I say that because, the truth has no agenda. So everybody have a good day. Bye, Dennis.
Bye-bye.